Hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome out to the garage and to another Saturday review. Today, the weather's shifting. There's a bit of rain, and I thought maybe I should shoot a few bottles of Scotch, blended or otherwise, for you guys. So today, I'm going to look at what was new in my market, but we'll talk more about its history in a bit. But this is a blended malt or a vatted malt from Macaloney's. Now, Macaloney's is a Canadian distillery, but thankfully, since it says Scotch on here, I'll tell you about the 4 different distilleries where this blended, or the single malts come from to create this blended malt. So this is Prince Dougal's Dram from Macaloney's blended Scotch.
3, 4.
Thanks for staying with me. As I said, you know, when the weather shifts, it's a little early, but I do like to think of a few scotches when I head into fall. So this is a blended malt. Now, blended malt means it's all malted barley, but because it says Scotch and blended malt, it means that there's no grain whiskeys in here, and it's a blend of single malts. Now, I'll probably forget the 4. There are 4 distilleries in here, but I'll give it a try. So we've got some single malt from Blair, some Tanninic, some Clynelish, and some Athrusk. And the Athrusk and the Tanninic pronunciations, you know, Roy, I constantly go back to how do you pronounce Scotch? And even when that music that funky starts going, I'm like, I feel like I'm back home. Thanks again, Roy. So Blair, Tanninic, Athrusk, and Clynelish are the single malts that make up this blend. It's released, maybe its integrity. It clearly says non-chill filtered or unchill filtered. Yep, non-chill filtered on the bottle, and it is 46%. But the reason why I said maybe is it doesn't tell us whether it's colored. Now, it's light enough that I could think maybe it's not colored. But let's talk about this blended Scotch. Oh, you know, there's a controversy about Macaloney's right now because they are a Canadian distillery, even though the fellow running the place is from Scotland and has a Scottish name, and they're producing their own liquid. And a lot of the names they're using are places that are in Scotland, even though we also have those place names in Canada. But, you know, I'll put a link to Ralphie's commentary because Ralphie did the way better than I'm going to about breaking down what the challenge is behind what they're doing. This is not a controversial release. They're acting like an independent bottler. They received they received stock from those distilleries and blended it, and it was all aged and produced in Scotland, so it can be called Scotch. That's enough. Whiskey. Let's see what it is on the nose. This is very lemony and citrus. There's an edge of a little burnt toffee. And some fresh cut, you know, fruits, like orchard fruits, but we're talking, you know, lots of apple. Yeah, quite a bit of fruit with lemon. There's a little edge of something. When I say that burnt toffee, it's like a little bit, maybe that's almost a wood already. Let's try it on the palate. Sancha. A lot of the fruit kind of goes away, but what I'm left with is a decent, fairly strong dram. I was going to say dirty dram, and then I thought immediately of Big Al. You should see Al's whiskey reviews. You should totally see him on YouTube. Him and I have said a couple of times, is that a you know, a rough or a dirty Scotch or whiskey? And it's a bit. There's edges to this. It's got a little bit of like burnt wood or nut husk, you know, that powder off a walnut. It's got, I guess that could be spicing, but they're kind of flat like old cinnamon. It's got a nice coating, wasky character. You know, I better try it again here. Okay, now I've pushed back into a little more citrus, a little more quite coating actually, good wax going on. The fruit has come a little bit back in the background, but it really plays into that, older spent cinnamon, a little bit of ginger, that kind of, spice, oak, and wood almost for a Scotch. It's not peat, but it's not sweet. It's not like the nose. I would think it's going to be fruity and sweet and light. It's not. This is a bit of a tough whiskey, and I like it. I was just on the Whiskey Friends briefly his YouTube. He was looking for what are medium type scotches, right? When you come off entrance, where are you going next? Even though this is a blended malt or vatted malt, this is absolutely the next level type Scotch. And by that I mean it's not necessarily much better or put together than a lot of the entrance Scotches, but it tosses me around, and all in the good ways. This showed up in Alberta for 48 bucks Canadian at 46 non-chill filtered. Like, it's one of the few that after, and I've been through it a bit, I go back and I bought another bottle. Why? Because I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy this later in the night. I'm going to enjoy this after I've had some cleaner, lighter whiskeys, and I want some backbone to just keep the night going well. This is a solid recommend. Critically, because it's a bit bumpy and rough, maybe it's only 4 stars, but honestly, this is amazing. Like, not amazing, but really good, and far exceeded my expectations in terms of a 40, under $50 Dram. Like, this blew me away. Now, I went to the cupboard to try to compare it to some blended malts, and I don't have any blended malts on the shelf. So, I would compare it to Monkey Shoulder, except for in that case, Monkey Shoulder is way sweeter and smoother and approachable. I'd compare it to, even Oak Cross I just did. That would be a good comparison, but sadly those bottles are gone. So I do have a blended Scotch. Now this is going to have grain. It's Dewar's, and it's only 40%, but it's the best I could do for a quick comparison Dram. So the Dewar's 12 on the nose. In this comparison, very light, very sweet, a little grainy, which is interesting. A little honey. Try a sip. Sancha. Yeah, oh, okay. The palate stayed very much in that kind of sweet, light, approachable, fairly creamy. I like Dewar's. And my was, you know what? There was a little bit of spice, just a little bit of, in this case, I'm going to play more to the ginger. I don't know why that's in my mind lately, but a little more ginger. But in comparison, like this is an easy recommend. It's very affordable. It's certainly, if you're new to Scotch, Dewar's 12 is just a great affordable blend. Go for it. If you've been around Scotch a little bit and this shows up on your shelf, buy this. It is significantly better for my palate and where I am in my journey. It just is a bit of a bruiser, but in the right way. Thanks for joining me out here in the garage. If you heard some noises, it's because I lift the door so I can get some natural light. Thanks again for joining me. See you on the next round.